Gamers are ignoring this one key stat, and it's not what you think. My name is Sean Haley, and I'm a professional esports coach and bodybuilder, grinding in both, and I'm here to help you level up in both as well. Now, this one stat that gamers are just plain out ignoring. It's not what you think. It's not, oh, they're forgetting about their training, they're forgetting about their sleep, they're forgetting about this, that. It's something deeper. It's something that I didn't even know about in the first place. I neglected this for years. I was known as the guy that neglected this one key stat. And that stat is your mental health. Now, it's not just mental health. Obviously, it is a bit of this and a bit of sleep and, a little bit of everything in between, but specifically the mental health is something that I'm going to go over in a little bit more depth today. Now, the 4 key points, just to go over them really quick, is that happier gamers are different than angry gamers. They perform differently. Number 2 is the relationship between stress and memory. Obviously very important when you're coming to video games. Number 3 is that a balanced life helps you actually grind longer, so you'll be better at the video game in general. And number 4, having good mental health is just a passive buff in every area of your life. And I'm going to go over that today. Now, I'm going to start with a personal anecdote, and this came into play when I was about a year and a half ago. And my friend, I'm sure you guys have heard of the game Amori. And Amori, if you don't know, is basically a game about mental health and kind of gamers being like kind of sad, kind of down. It's a game about emotions and about insecurities and things like that. And my roommate at the time was very big into that, very big gamer, very into mental health, very into Amori in general. And he asked me if I've ever played it. I go, no. He says, oh, you probably wouldn't like it anyway. It's about mental health. So naturally, I was kind of taken back by that. I was going, what do you mean it's about mental health? I wouldn't like it. Oh yeah, because you kind of say screw it to mental health. Like, you don't really take that into consideration. You just kind of go, ignore it. And I took a step back for a second. I said, oh my gosh, like, you're right. I do really ignore mental health. So I took a sec and I looked at myself and I said, wow, my mental health is crap. That was a year ago. I'm doing so much better now. But I really took a second. I said, wow, like, mental health is just something I've always put aside. And I did a little bit more research on it. And it wasn't something that I was really prioritizing. Obviously, going to the gym, talking to people, working on my social skills, school, work, all that stuff. And it really took a back seat, as most people would let it take a back seat. It's mental health. It's not something that's actually important, right? But upon doing a little bit more research, and this seems really obvious, but happier people just do better in life. Like, obviously, you've seen the studies where it's, the happier person lives longer and the angry person gets wrinkles in their forehead or whatever that crap is. But when it comes down to it, the happier person is going to outperform the angry person every single time on average, right? But it goes deeper than that, because not only are they outperforming the angry person, the person with bad mental health, the sad person, the angry person, they're doing worse than the people that are happy, go lucky, optimistic, go woohoo. It sounds stupid, but literally better mental health just helps you perform better as a human in every single aspect of your life. So if you take a look at the stronger gamers in the scene, maybe aside from like HBox, if you've heard of him, he's throwing chairs at people, but the best players are happy people. Like the top 5 players in any game, whether it's Smash Bros, CS, Valorant, whatever you play, they're happy people. Like, if you talk to them, maybe they're a little bit socially weird, but they're happy. Like, they're doing their thing. But if you ask, like, grinders, people that are really trying to level up, a lot of them just hate their lives. And, like, I get it, I'm there too sometimes, but it's more along the lines of, like, the happier player just outperforms the unhappy one. Let's say if you go into a 4-hour grind session on, Elite Smash, when you're practicing against Sonic or Steve or characters you really just don't want to practice against in Smash, for example, and you're an angry person, your mental health is in the dumps. You just you're whatever, I hate my life. You have a messy room. You got to do the dishes. All this crap is piling up and you're angry. And you try to play for 4 hours against a character that you don't want to play against, something that's going to take a lot of your brain power, a lot of strength that you actually need to focus on, and it starts going wrong for you, you're going to get pissed and you're not going to actually be able to perform. You're not going to retain that information either. But the happy person, even if they lose, they're going to go, oh, that's okay. And they'll play it again and again and again. And they will literally just practice better. They will perform better. They'll retain the information better. And all around, they'll be the better player. So that's point number one. Happy gamers perform better than angry gamers. And point number two, we actually talked about a little bit there with stress and memory. And that is going into how stress actually directly influences your memory. And you could probably guess how it influences it. But one of the ways is that it actually decreases it. Wow, you wouldn't have thought that, huh? But it goes a little bit deeper than that, because your mental health, obviously, if you got bad mental health, you're just stressed, anxiety, all this and that. But if your mental health is in the dumps and you're experiencing a lot of stress because you're letting things pile up and, you're just grinding, and you're just, just focused on the gym, just focused on school, just focused on content creation, then you're incurring a lot of stress. You're going to forget things, you're going to make mistakes. And this is something that always happened to me, but I never really took into consideration. I never really cared about it. I never really thought about it either, because I thought mental health was just something that we throw on the back burner, and it's like, oh, it would be nice if I was happy too, but I'd rather grind. I'm sure we've all had that thought. But if your mental health is crap, you're going to make mistakes and things are going to get much worse. Between school, work, gym, if the worse mental health you have, the more accident prone you actually are in the gym. So if you're super stressed and you're grinding in the gym 3 hours a day, like I have done sometimes in the past, then you're actually way more incident prone or accident prone and injury prone in general, which is obviously horribly dangerous. That could put you out of the gym for life, which is not good. So whereas the happy gamer, he could go to the gym and he is nowhere near as accident prone. He's not going to make nearly as many mistakes. Even if he doesn't know what to do in the gym, if your mental health is good, you're way less accident prone. You're going to be healthier. You're not going to incur sickness. You're not going to incur injuries as often. And all this goes for as often, but obviously there's no, you will never get sick if you're happy. Maybe, who knows? But that's another thing, is that stress reduces your memory. So if you're studying for a test that's due tomorrow, right? If you sit down the night before and you grind, type, and you're trying to, cram all this information in your head as quick as possible, it might be kind of effective, but when it comes to the test, you're much more likely to bound to lose that information when it comes to performance time. Same thing when it comes to video games. Like, you already knew that part about school, but now apply that to other things in your life. Where it comes to video games, and you've got this big tournament on Saturday and it's Monday, and you go, I could wait until Friday to practice for that. Thursday rolls around, you're like, man, I should really, really practice. Friday comes around, you want to go out with your friends or something. I'll practice tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning rolls around and you're like trying to get these combos down. You're trying to get the VOD review and trying to figure out what your mistakes were in your past match, and you're trying to cram all this information like you're studying for a test. And the tournament's in an hour, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're super stressed. You're going to forget literally everything you just went over. Stress impacts your memory negatively. So as stress goes up, memory goes down, and it is called inversely proportional. So that's super important. That's point number 2. If you guys are serious about leveling up your game and your gym gains, I've got you guys covered. Everything's in the top link in the description. It's going to be a 15 to 20 hour video course where I cover everything. I'm working on it right now, between grinds in the gym, grinds in the game, everything else in between. If you really want some more in-depth advice on more stuff like this, but just super, super in-depth, like every single part of it that you can ever imagine, everything that you would ever want in a guide between fitness and gaming, I've got you. Click the top link in the description, and I'll see you there. Point number 3 is going to go into, why am I outside right now? It's not that nice of a day, but I got this lake behind me. It's pretty. But you got to get outside. A balanced life is going to impact everything in your life. Everything's going to get better. If you spend some time outside, spend some time inside, spend some time on the couch, spend some time on the treadmill. And everybody knows, balance this, balance that. But when you're playing video games, it's very easy to neglect your mental health, even the same way as I am in the gym, where you play Valorant for 7 hours in a day or something like that, or whatever casual game you want to play, and you think your mental health is great because, oh, I'm relaxing, I'm playing video games, but it's actually going down. You're doing too much of one thing. Just as you can sleep too much, just as you can eat too much, just as you can go to the gym too much, balance is super, super important. And we want to talk about sustainability here too, because when you balance your life becomes very sustainable. People like to talk about, oh, I'm going to grind. I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. every day, and I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m., go to bed at 10 p.m., and I'm going to do this every day for the rest of my life, and I'm going to eat healthy. I'm never going to eat unhealthy food again. And they could do that for a day, 2 days, maybe a week, maybe a month, but it's not sustainable. And obviously, we'd all like to be some sort of crazy maniac where we just, live the perfect life and get everything down perfect, but it's not sustainable. It's not something that we can do every day. So by living a balanced life, by, sometimes playing video games, sometimes go to the gym, sometimes do some cardio, you're going to be able to grind so much longer in the game, in the gym, sleep, everything. Because if you spec all your points into one stat, like when you're designing your character, if you've ever played like an RPG or something and you design your character and they give you 20 skill points, if you spec everything into strength, you're not going to have any specs into intelligence or faith or wisdom or whatever, But if you balance, you're going to have stats in all of those stats. You're going to have points in all of those stats. And you might be able to spec everything into strength or everything into the gym, but everything else is going to falter, and you won't be able to go to the gym for 8 hours a day every day of your life. You're going to have a job, you're going to have a girlfriend, you're going to have a family, you're going to have work to do. You're not going to be able to go to the gym 8 hours every day. And it might be cool to be able to do that for 8 hours on a day and try to, maybe gym is a bad example, but if you want to work 8 hours a day, you're not going to be able to sustain that. It's not sustainable, and you're going to crumble, and you're not going to be able to do that for weeks and weeks at a time. So by having a balanced life and getting outside sometimes, like I am now, it's not even a nice day. There's clouds in the sky. You can see it today. But there's a little breeze. It's a little bit chilly. I've got a sweatshirt on. But just get outside. Balance your life. Even when it doesn't seem like you should go outside. Oh, it's a rainy day. Oh, it's crappy. I'll go outside tomorrow. Balance your life. Make it sustainable. You don't have to go play video games for 7 hours every day. That's not sustainable either. Doing anything for super, super, super long amounts of time is never sustainable. So do habits and make your schedule so that it is sustainable. And the last point I want to make today is that having good mental health is just a passive buff for everything in your life. So when my mental health was super, super bad, and I was, back 3-4 years ago when I first started going to the gym, I was super lonely. I really was struggling with a lot of bad habits, and I wasn't doing well in school, and my physique was really bad, and I was missing out on a lot of friendships and relationships. My mental health was horrible, and that led to everything else being horrible. It's like having a bad battery in a robot. Like, let's say if you have this cool robot, right? You name him Wally, and Wally's doing his thing, he runs out of batteries. And you put in the wrong battery, you put in like a dud, some half-baked Duracell battery or something, he's not going to be able to work correctly. If the battery's dead, or if the battery's not the battery that you need, the robot's not going to function in the right way. That's why you need to put in the right battery, the battery being mental health. That's kind of really the key puzzle. That's the key piece of this puzzle, is your mental health. You can have a 10 out of 10 robot physique, right? Washboard metallic abs. You could have some absolute guns. But if you don't have the battery, if you don't have that good mental health, you try to put that in, it's like just the wrong battery. You try to put that in your robot, the robot's not going to work. It's going to do crap. You put in crap, you're going to get out crap. You've heard that before. And this is the same thing, where if you put in bad mental health, even if you're jacked, you're going to get crap results. You're going to forget things because of the stress. You're not going to perform as well. Everything in your life is going to suffer. If you're just an unhappy person, people are going to notice you're unhappy. They're not going to invite you out. You know, you're going to be an unhappy person. You're going to ask for your boss for a raise, and your boss is going to go, not this guy. You kidding me? He comes to work pissed every day. Comes to work sobbing at his desk. You know, you be a happy person. Work on your mental health. It's way more important than people think. People put this aside, you know, the gym rats, the gamers, the scholars, whatever. Everybody puts this to the side, and I understand why, because I did that too. But since actually taking a moment to work on my mental health, and when I say a moment, I mean like years, but working on it really gave me that battery that I needed. And I finally was able to put that battery into my robot, and now my robot is functioning purposefully and well. It is performing at a much higher level and a much higher quality than when I did not focus on my mental health, or I didn't even care. So very, very important on that. Like and subscribe if you guys found value today. If you want to support the grind even further, I got my socials in the link in the description. Check those out. And remember, guys, life's a dice roll. Just roll the dice a hell of a lot more than everybody else. And I will see you in the next one. See you there.